Lochlan's twist of fate in the White Lotus Season 3 finale was one of the most shocking parts of the episode. After seeming to be poisoned to death by drinking a smoothie full of toxic pong-pong tree seeds, Lochlan miraculously comes back to life as Timothy holds him in his arms. Lochlan appeared to be the first death in the White Lotus Season 3 finale, and the entire season, for that matter, before he unexpectedly regained consciousness. Although the White Lotus Season 3 finale featured multiple deaths, Lochlan turned out not to be one of them and goes back home to North Carolina with his entire family. As he was thought to be dying, Lochlan envisioned his sister, Piper, and brother, Saxon, before being metaphysically submerged in a deep pool, looking up at 4 apparent monks or Buddhist teachers above. When Lochlan miraculously regains consciousness, he tells his father that he thinks he saw God after spending most of the White Lotus Season 3 being confused about all sorts of things. Surprisingly, none of the Ratliff family members end up dead in the White Lotus Season 3 finale. After discovering the serious trouble that Timothy is facing back home, a few of them may wish that they had finished those pina coladas. Why Timothy tries to poison Victoria, Saxon, Piper and himself with the pong-pong fruit. Timothy, Jason Isaacs, looking worried in the White Lotus Season 3 EP 7. Image via Max. Timothy's suicidal thoughts and dark visions of him killing his family members got the best of him in the White Lotus Season 3 finale, which is why he made those toxic frozen cocktails. Fully aware that these drinks could kill him and his family, Timothy believed that he was actually doing it in the best interests of his family, most of whom revealed that they would not be able to function without their extremely privileged lifestyles. Killing his family before they discovered the truth about what was waiting for them back in the United States was the only way Tim could ensure that they would never have to struggle. Timothy intentionally leaves out Lochlan from the Jonestown-esque group poisoning, but not because he wasn't of legal drinking age. Instead, Timothy uses that as an excuse for Lochlan not to drink the pina coladas. Lochlan was the only Ratliff who admitted that he would be able to live without nice things or even a house, which Timothy, in his vulnerable and warped state of mind, took to heart. Saxon, whose entire career was tied to Timothy, and Piper, who discovered she couldn't spend a year in Thailand because the food was too bland, both indicated, along with Victoria, that they could not handle being middle or lower class. Why Timothy changes his mind about poisoning his family. Saxon, Patrick Schwarzenegger, confronting Timothy in the White Lotus Season 3 EP 7. Image via Max. After his family had already taken a couple of sips, Timothy abruptly changed his mind and stopped them from drinking the toxic pong-pong drinks. Victoria, Saxon, and Piper could all tell that something was off with the frozen cocktails but, in true Ratliff fashion, didn't want to question their father, especially when they were celebrating the end of their vacation. The twisted logic that brought Tim to try to kill his family came undone before it was too late, which is why he slapped Saxon's drink out of his hands and claimed that the coconut milk was bad. Tim couldn't be honest with his family, and it doesn't seem like he admitted that he nearly killed them all. He waited until the last possible second to start talking about the impending ST storm that was waiting for him back home, which left his entire family speechless. Similar to Rick's violent fantasies of killing Jim throughout the White Lotus Season 3, only to barely harm him in Episode 7 before shooting him in the finale, Timothy's ideations grew and festered into his reality. Because he couldn't imagine his family existing outside their materialistic attachments, he strangely believed he was doing what was best for them. Lochlan's accidental poisoning and near-death experience explained. Lochlan Ratliff, Sam Nivola, submerged in the water in the White Lotus Season 3 EP 2. Image via Max. Lochlan stunningly chose to make a protein shake using the blender that was still full of ground-up pong-pong seeds. His decision not to clean out the blender before using it may just be the most confusing aspect of the White Lotus Season 3, but then again, Lochlan has been incredibly confused throughout. Earlier in the episode, Saxon tries to break down the power dynamic between them that they had been living in for years, telling his little brother that he shouldn't literally worship him. It's still evident after their awkward conversation that Lochlan wants to be like Saxon, which is why he makes himself a smoothie in the first place. What happens next is intentionally inexplicable and can only be described as a near-death experience. After Victoria, Saxon, and Piper all leave for breakfast without waiting or checking on him, Lochlan becomes violently ill and vomits. Lochlan drank the entire smoothie, which appeared to have much of the pong-pong fruit seeds collected at the bottom of the blender in it. Lochlan having an indescribable spiritual experience on the brink of death will likely change how he views his life and God altogether. In a weird but profound way, it may cure him from the dark ST he's been dealing with all season long. The real meaning of the Ratliff family's The White Lotus Season 3 ending. For most of the Ratliff family, going home to live modest and plain lives could feel worse than a death sentence. Almost all of them nearly died because of the actions of their own father, or husband in Victoria's case, but together they will all have to experience the hardships to come from Timothy's money laundering scheme. Tim seems to have finally accepted his fate, which should involve some prison time, but most importantly will ruin his family man image for the rest of his life. Interestingly, the Ratliffs will now have to depend on each other emotionally as most families do, which should bring them closer together. The Ratliff family's Thailand vacation has forcefully knocked them off their pedestal. Piper can no longer trick her parents into staying at an expensive luxury resort with ulterior motives. Saxon's notions of masculinity, purpose, and a career should drastically shift for the better. Victoria won't be able to check out all day by abusing prescription drugs and will almost certainly have to get a job, especially if Tim does go to prison. As for Lochlan, he might be the new emotional leader of the Ratliff family through their troubling times, which would finally resolve all of his pent-up confusion and lack of direction leading up to the White Lotus Season 3.